How's it going, New York Giants fans? My name is Alex, your host today, and I want to take a look at the Giants' red zone offense from last season and really dive into, their shortcomings and what we should expect for the 2022 season. Of course, the Giants hire Brian Dable as their head coach and Mike Kafka as their offensive coordinator. I want to take a look at how well they performed offensively, their respective teams. Of course, they have Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, which is a big difference in Daniel Jones, but I want to kind of take a look at the schematics, what the difference is between these teams and why we should be expecting a better unit, how they're going to use these guys, the pre-snap motion that is differing between the Giants, Chiefs, and Bills, their success rates, and kind of how bad the offense was last year, and just like kind of taking a look at the strengths of these specific players and what we should expect from them moving forward. So let's dive right into the content. So first and foremost, I want to take a look at Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, obviously being the most polarizing player on this team to date, 2021, really down season. Of course, a lot had to do with the schematics and, his decision making going through progressions, the system, the personnel around him. Everybody has a little bit to blame here. But ultimately, when you look at his statistics, they aren't that great. So I'll put everything on the screen so that you can see exactly what he did. But last season, he completed 16 passes on 42 attempts in the red zone for a 38.1% completion rate, only 70 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 4 sacks. He also rushed for 2 touchdowns on 13 attempts. So the Giants really tried to get him a little bit more active in the running game rather than the passing game because the receivers, couldn't get separation. The schematics were really poor. The offensive line broke down almost instantaneously. We should expect that to change given the Giants just rebooted their entire offensive line. Better coaching should help as well. But looking at Daniel Jones specifically, he was really, really poor. Looking back at 2019 in his rookie season, 53.1% completion rate, 34 completions, 13 total touchdowns through the air, and then 2 touchdowns on the ground. So looking at it, like the Giants really had a lot more success with Pat Shurmur running the offense. The personnel wasn't drastically different. In fact, you throw in Kenny Galladay into the mix and you'd expect them to be a little bit better. Even Saquon Barkley was, having his injury issues during Daniel Jones's rookie year. So this is kind of a situation where the Giants just took a significant step backward, but I think Daniel Jones can perform a lot better. I'm going to kind of take a look at the Bills and Chiefs offense for you at the same time. So let's go look at the Bills and Chiefs really quickly. So when you look at Josh Allen's statistics, these just blow anything you could imagine out of the water. 72 completions for 29 touchdowns and 6 rushing touchdowns. He had a 55.8% completion percentage last year. When evidently Brian Dable got his hands on Josh Allen, things started to change pretty significantly. He had a lot more success when Dable was able to develop a scheme and really help him grow. His numbers looked kind of eerily similar. Like 2019, he only had 13 touchdown passes in the red zone, but he had 9 rushing. He still performed a lot better than Daniel Jones, but it wasn't like astronomically better. But as things, progress and Buffalo really had their chance to mold Josh Allen and with the schematics and more consistency, it got a lot better. Daniel Jones obviously has the running capabilities. He's more of a straight line runner. He's not very agile and quick in the open field. Josh Allen can really do it all. There's no way he's going to throw 29 touchdown passes in the red zone, but he's got to be better in that area. And that starts with the receivers, right? Last year, Stephon Diggs for the Buffalo Bills had 10 touchdowns in the red zone. Gabriel Davis had 6. They had a lot of action in the red zone for the receivers. Looking at the Giants receivers, on the other hand, you're looking at one of the most disappointing groups in the entire NFL, and mainly because Jason Garrett didn't know what he was doing. The most productive receiver of any Giants in the end zone, in the red zone, was Sterling Shepard. He had 6 receptions for 35 receiving yards, 0 touchdowns. The only receiver who had a red zone touchdown last year was Dante Pettis. I mean, talk about disappointing. Like, you can't get much worse than 1 touchdown, and it's to your 4th string receiver in Dante Pettis. So, I really hope the Giants can find a better way to get these schematics. And I think that they're going to run kind of this spread West Coast style offense. They're going to try and get downfield, but they're going to do a lot of screen passes. Looking at Kadarius Toney, looking at Saquon Barkley, looking at Wandel Robinson, we just drafted out of Kentucky. You're looking at a lot of guys who really are capable of taking it to the house, like at any given moment. And when you're giving them the ball at the line of scrimmage, they can make plays. Like Joe Shane said it in his press conference, opening press conference after the draft, basically was just like, we got Wandel Robinson. He's a great route runner. He's great with the ball in his hands. He's electric. What more can you really ask for in guys that can just make things happen from nothing? It's going to take a lot of pressure off of Daniel Jones as well. So I do like that about the situation at hand in terms of what the Giants can do with their playmakers. But it also comes down to schematics. The pre-snap motion is another really big factor for the Giants. And last year, they only used pre-snap motion on 7.5% of their snaps, which is pretty much like the worst in the NFL. If you look at Buffalo, they use it on 34.3%, and the Chiefs use it at 65.5%. When you look at Wandel Robinson, Kadarius Toney, even Sterling Shepard when he comes back, we should expect a ton of pre-snap motion. They should at least breach 30%. Mike Kafka is going to want to use it a lot. Brian Dable doesn't use it a ton at 34.3%, but it's like what? 5 times as much as the Giants did last year with Jason Garrett and Freddie Kitchens. So I think that we're going to see a lot more pre-snap motion, which is going to be a tremendous benefit for the Giants, because what is the importance of pre-snap motion? It gives the quarterback more information about what the defense is doing, right? So if you have pre-snap motion and you have a guy going across the line of scrimmage and you see that the cornerback is following that receiver, you know they're playing man coverage. Now you can say, okay, I know these guys are playing man. Where are my man coverage beaters? Where are my quick, agile receivers? Kadarius Toney, Wandel Robinson. Where are you guys? Because you're the guys that can make guys miss in the open field. You're the ones that can beat those man coverage assignments. If they don't follow, maybe it's zone coverage. Maybe you want to take a look at a screen pass because maybe they're playing cover 3 and they're backing off. It's kind of a trend going on through the game. They're playing cover 3. The receivers are back. Their corners are backing off. DBs are going out. And maybe you want to get the ball into space to Wandale or Kadarius Toney and let them work. Maybe a little out route from Saquon out of the backfield. Who knows? Use your new tight ends, Daniel Bellinger. He's a guy with a big frame, and he's really, really great in the short to intermediate portions of the field. So these are all things that kind of give you information so that Daniel Jones can succeed. That's why pre-snap motion is so important. In addition to that, NFL football is a game of inches. You have to get an advantage wherever you can. So if you have a wide receiver going across the line of scrimmage and a defender is slightly out of alignment, the quarterback sees that and they say, okay, now that linebacker is shifted 2 feet to his left. That gives me a little bit more space to run this slant route from Sterling Shepard or Toney or Wandale, whoever it might be. And that little bit of space is a completion, because otherwise maybe it's not. Pre-snap motion does a lot of things for an offense, and I think that the Giants are going to really dive into that moving forward. But let's take a look at the Chiefs and what they've done in the past. So last year, Patrick Mahomes threw 24 touchdown passes in the red zone, 2 of them rushing. His receivers were absolutely immaculate. Tyreek Hill had 7 touchdown receptions in the red zone for 101 yards. I mean, 101 yards when you're condensed down to 20 yards of action is a lot. They have 3 touchdowns to Byron Pringle, 2 to McCole Hardman, 2 to Jody Fortson, and 1 to Josh Gordon. They did a lot of really great things. Obviously, look at Travis Kelce. He had 6 touchdown receptions and 64 yards. The Giants just really struggled in the red zone. You look at their tight ends and running back metrics. Evan Ingram had 27 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns in the red zone. So even that, not very lucrative. Kyle Rudolph had 9 yards and 1 touchdown. Kyle Rudolph was supposed to be this big, huge tight end signing, huge 6'7" frame, red zone target, and we only got 1 pass to him that was actually successful in the red zone for a touchdown. So that's really disappointing. The running backs got the majority of the action here. Devontae Booker had 2 touchdowns, Saquon had 2, and Elijah Penny had 1. They had a couple of receiving. Each of them had 1 receiving touchdown as well. So, when you're looking at it, it's just not enough. Like, the Giants did not scheme enough. Their pre-snap motion was abysmal. I remember Jason Garrett just calling fade routes over and over and over again. We all remember Eli Manning being tremendous as a fade route thrower, but like Daniel Jones is not a great fade route thrower. He puts too much speed and velocity on it. He's got to give it some loft where your receiver can go up and actually make those catches, especially like a guy like Kenny Galladay. You got to give him space. You got to give him some height on that football to go up and make a play. And unfortunately, Daniel Jones throws fastballs in the end zone, and that's not exactly what you want for a fade route. But Jason Garrett continuously called the fades. It was really, really annoying. Hopefully, Brian Dable and Mike Kafka use their speedsters, use their electrifying playmakers, get the ball in their hands, and get good blockers out in front, right? Sterling Shepard's one of the best blockers out there from the receiving position. Kenny Galladay is a great blocker. Get these guys out in front. Get your offensive lineman to the second level, tight ends to the second level. Daniel Bellinger is an unbelievable run blocker. Let him get out there in space and make a guy just stall. Do what you got to do to get your guys in a position to win their matchups. Jason Garrett and Freddie Kitchens did an absolutely horrendous job of that last year. And we know that Brian Dable and Mike Kafka have the brain to get it done and scheme a much better unit moving forward. But, when you're looking at the Giants straight up, it's pretty disappointing to see what they've accomplished in the past couple of years in terms of offense. The offensive line, they drafted and signed a total of 9 players. So you're talking about like Jamil Douglas, you're talking about Mark Lewinsky, obviously Evan Neal, Josh Azudu, another one from UNC. Like, they just really overhauled John Feliciano, Max Garcia. We have Shane Lemieux coming back. Like, this is an opportunity for the Giants to really put some continuity together on the offensive side. And hopefully the offensive line holds up more, because if Daniel Jones has more time in the pocket, if Saquon Barkley has more opportunities to get through those gaps, the receivers have more time to get downfield, you're going to see such a better performance all around. I was just watching Daniel Jones's film from the New Orleans game where he had like 4 touchdown passes. He was immaculate, and that's what we saw when ultimately you're looking at what you can do with a good offensive line. When you have time in the pocket, everything changes, everything. So hopefully the Giants can really get going here and put together a much better performance in 2022. I do believe that Dable and Kafka are more than capable of doing this. I'm really excited to see what they can accomplish with this offense. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, just taking a look at some of the numbers and metrics that the Giants did put together last year, and what Kansas City and the Chiefs did to really get the ball in the end zone. I'd love to take a look at the individual draft picks in the coming days and really start to dive into them and what they have to offer this Giants team. Of course, there's a little bit more information coming out, like James Bradbury. Joe Schoen said yesterday to WFAN on the radio that James Bradbury, they will have a kind of a solution to that by the end of the week. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't seem like there's much of a trade market for him. So if they cut him, the Giants will save $10.1 million. Not exactly what we were looking for. We wanted some draft capital out of it. But ultimately, like, what can you do is what it is. But if they want to restructure him, there's a couple ways they could do it. They could restructure Leonard Williams to open up a bit of money, but I don't think they want to do that. In addition, they could add some voidable years to James Bradbury's contract so they can convert some of his base salary into a roster bonus, which would spread out some of that money. They could add another voidable year to 2024 if they want to. Thanks, Dave Gettleman already added another void year to 2023, so we already going to pay him to not be on the team next year, which is what we're doing for Nate Solder right now. I can't believe you have to pay Nate Solder $4 million to not play for us. Like he should have given us the money back. Honestly, it was that bad. But hopefully the Giants can figure out the best way to kind of figure out this James Bradbury situation. Personally, I'd rather them roll with Wandel Robinson. This team is rebuilding this year. They got to really put their best foot forward and really commit to their youth. James Bradbury is going to be gone next year anyway. Why not give your youth guys a chance to compete and really develop and give them a chance to battle it out for that number 2 spot alongside Adoree Jackson? I think that honestly might be the best course of action, because you're just pushing more money down the road. It's not worth it. So I think the Giants are pretty set on letting him walk, guys. But I'd love to hear your opinions below on the YouTube comments. Much love as always. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants episode.